Good morning, everyone. It's 10 o'clock. We'll call this meeting to order. Item 2, opening prayer by Reverend Adam Spohr from the First United Methodist Church. That will be followed by our pledges led by Commissioner Arndt. If everyone would, please rise.
Well, good morning. Let's pray. Holy God, we pause to ask your presence with us for your guidance in all things. In the midst of this season, as we prepare for Christmas and look at the gift that you have given to us, help us to live our lives in the example that you have given to us through your Son. So as the commissioners meet today for our county, for the people who have elected them, we ask that you offer them your wisdom, your guidance, your direction in all things. All this we pray in the name of your Son, Jesus the Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Reverend.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I protect the flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Item number 5, do we have anybody signed up for public comments? No one.
Did you get your computer to work?
Okay, item number 6, the consent agenda. The consent agenda includes non-controversial and routine items that the court may act on with one single vote. The judge or commissioners may pull any item from the consent agenda in order that the court discuss and act upon it individually as a part of a regular agenda. Is there anything here that we need to discuss? Any concerns?
It only went to double H.
That's the longest one since I've been here. I have just a brief question about G. What happened, Leon?
Gee, where are we? Oh, somebody rear-ended that Kubota and the brush cutter when they was mowing roads.
Wow.
Back in the August.
Okay. Ouch.
Nobody got hurt.
That's good.
Totaled the tractor.
They were going pretty fast, weren't they?
I have no idea.
I always worry
Saw
about
the
that.
cloud of dirt, didn't realize there would be something in the cloud of dirt, and just moved into it.
I was just curious. I figured that's what happened.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm happy with the settlement.
I'll make a motion. If nobody has anything they want to pull, I'll make a motion we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
I have a motion to approve the consent agenda by Commissioner Snuggs, a second by Commissioner Clement. Any further discussion? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Item number 7, deliberate and consider possible approval of Treasurer's monthly report for October.
Motion to
So move.
However you want to do it.
Have a motion to approve by Commissioner Snuggs,
Second.
a second by Commissioner Clement. Any further discussion? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Deliberate and consider possible approval of order conforming election precincts to revised Commissioner Court precincts. Any questions or concerns?
When will we have a good map?
It's over at TCOG now.
Okay, good. So it's coming fast.
Yeah.
He's pretty quick. I'm just curious. I get the gist, but I'd like to know exactly what it is.
It was a little bit confusing trying to look at those maps. Do you want to tell us exactly, Pam, what was combined and what isn't?
Sure.
What may have changed?
So basically, because we were already, precinct 1, 3, 5, and 31, we're already voting at the Civic Center. So what we did, and we were not compliant because we had too many people voting in each precinct combined. So we're just basically eliminated all them precincts and just calling it one. But 20 and 27 got added to that because, of course, it got moved to Commissioner 3 instead of Commissioner 2.
Which one did?
20 and 27 used
Okay.
to be Jason Snuggs.
Okay, 20 and 27 got moved out of Snuggs, out of precinct 1, or 2, I'm sorry, precinct 2, Commissioner precinct 2.
You're right, Commissioner Precinct 2 and Commissioner Precinct 3. So we just combined them two precincts, the new Precinct 1. So
Okay.
anybody who is in 20 and 27 will have a new voting location.
That'll be
And
fun.
and a new commissioner. So, and then
So
what we're
the-
now calling go ahead.
Go ahead.
Oh, so now what we're calling precinct 2, the new precinct 2, used to be 2, 30, 34, and 35. Now we've added 31 to that precinct because it changed from Commissioner Precinct, let me get this right, Commissioner Precinct 3 to Commissioner Precinct 4.
Yes.
So it went from Adam to Leon.
So the voting precinct 1 went from 1/5/2027 to 1/3/5/27 and 20.
Right.
And 2 went from 2, 30, 31, 34, and 35 to 2, 30, 31, 34, and 35.
Well, you said that opposite. It went from 230.
Oh, that's right. I got you.
But yeah, the way
Yeah.
you said it.
Yeah.
So precinct, everybody will vote the same place there except precinct 31.
Okay.
Now we'll have a new voting location.
All right.
And then, of course, 19 and 15 is a little confusing. 19 used to vote at Conrad Hall and Lindsay with 21, which there was 2 different commissioners. We finally got compliant there. They're now voting in their commissioner precinct 3. And then, of course, 15, part of 15 went to 18, part went to 21, and the rest of it now is voting, their new precinct's going to be called precinct 3, along with 19, so that's a new precinct, so all them voters will have a new voting location.
Voting precinct 3, not
Yeah.
commissioner's precinct.
Right, right.
Okay.
There's gonna be lots of creatures
so-
and habit upset,
Yes,
Well,
but that's just part of change.
but we had to do it with the redistricting.
Yeah.
and in
And
all actuality, this is going to be more convenient for everyone
Yes.
concerned and less confusing. We've gone from 20
we've gone to 29
to 15.
voting precincts to 15 voting
Yeah.
precincts, and we've gone from 16 locations to 15 locations. So
And one thing that the general public needs to understand, in the vast majority of these instances, people will still be voting at the same
Yeah.
voting place, polling place as they were previously. They just had different precinct numbers, but they were all still voting at the same place.
Yeah, that's where I was trying to get
So
to. We're really
please,
not changing
yeah.
that many places.
So we just need to remind the public to look at your voter registration. When you get it, it's going to have your voting precinct on there, and then go to our website and see where to go vote.
We're not
Call your
changing.
commissioner the day of, like they all do now.
Yeah, we're not changing that many locations.
No. And
We
that,
can-
everybody else after that is pretty much voting at the same place. We've just combined 6 and 9 to 6, and 12 and 14 to 12, and all the rest of them are the same.
Can we
I'll
still,
give you a chart. The
and one
paper.
day we can still be working towards where we can vote anywhere?
We're trying to work on that. We have to come up with a plan. The Secretary of State
Everything
has to
have
approve
high-speed
it.
internet, it has to be talked
Yes.
in together. I know
We'll
it's
have to
all
go
work.
completely paperless, so we might need to order a few more machines, but we're going to start getting in that process. And of course, the Secretary of State only approves, I think, 6 a year, so you may get approved, you may not, but at
Yeah,
least,
you can't just do it, you have to be approved.
right, they have to approve your plan, and it has to be approved, and they have to know that you have all the right equipment. And
Right, yeah, I know it's a lot, it's just a goal.
Yeah, but we are looking into that, and we're going to try to get that.
On Pam on 4, it
Uh-huh.
shows 37 now to be 4C. It says 4C and 4, this map, but there's no mention that 37 was incorporated in that.
Yeah, he leaves, I
I
think
mean,
on
the rest
map.
of them appear to suggest,
Let me look at the map real quick.
but that map,
See.
you know, it said, hey, this is what was converted.
That map is confusing.
You know, where it says new 12 is now the old 14 and 12, and 4C and 4, I get what they did. They incorporated 37 and called it 4C because it's in the city.
Right.
But
And I don't know why
that-
he doesn't mention on here like he does all the rest of them.
Yeah, that's
He just
what I
puts
wanted.
4 and 4C, but he does show it in the map, and 37 is in the map, if you look at the map for that one.
But I wonder if we need the documentation somewhere other than just this notation on this map.
That's not a
In
question.
other words, 37 looks like it wasn't addressed. I mean, the map is correct, other than it only shows 4C and 4, and no reference to 37. I mean, it's obvious that it was done, but if 20 years down the road, we look back and say, hey, what happened to 37?
On the map.
Or is it in the, y'all see it in the documentation?
I mean,
It should be.
I mean, it says
It
to
should
look
be
at the map, and the
outlined in it.
map has it.
Yeah, it's outlined in red.
I know, I get it on the map, guys, I do. But the map only makes reference to 4C.
Yeah.
Well, there was no 4C, so. I mean, I get
Well,
what we
there's a
done, why we
There's a number of them that fall into that condition where they no longer exist because they were absorbed into another. And certainly, we can go through and list all of the changes and put it on the website if that
Right.
would be helpful.
Yeah, I will do that. I can put this on the website and then,
I mean, some of these maps just have a little bit of an explanation, and that one,
He didn't explain the map.
on
Yeah.
that particular one, he didn't show, he didn't make reference to box 37. So the sky's not
We can
falling.
do that.
When are they going to have the big map done?
Is it TCOG? That's a good question. I don't have an answer for.
Okay.
They probably have several that they're working on.
Yeah, I suspect.
Various counties.
I'm sure they have a bunch of them.
Is there any questions from the public? Anybody have any questions or input, even though you didn't sign up?
I'm hoping the news media can
explain this.
help.
Dan sent me a chart, I assume it's good as Dan wanted to do.
If,
It's just hard to get it large enough to actually see it.
yeah.
I make a motion, we approve the changes.
Second?
Have a motion to approve the changes by Commissioner Snuggs and a second by Commissioner Hollowell. Any further discussions? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Item number 9, deliberate and consider possible acceptance of Knotted Oaks Court, a road in Knotted Oaks subdivision in County Road System, and release of balance of monies on deposit for engineering services to developer.
This is my concrete road. Proud to say it's the nicest road in precinct 2, and it's time to accept it into my inventory. The engineers have had a few little issues and all, got all that solved. I'm ready to sign off, so I can make a motion when you accept it into county inventory.
Second.
Have a motion to accept the Knotted Oaks Road.
Gary, second.
And a second from Commissioner Hollowell. Any further discussions? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
You'll cut that check today and ease that burden, hopefully soon.
I don't get to cut.
Oh, you don't get to cut checks, that's right.
Patty cuts checks. Gotta go see Patty now.
Item number 10, deliberate and consider possible actions regarding exterior lights at the courthouse. Commissioner Snuggs?
Is anybody here from Parker? Yeah, David's not coming, okay.
David was going to be here, but he had some test things here at the last minute, and so he just jumped in.
Perfect. Jeff and Laura Johnson have reached out to me, and David Johnson, been talking to them. They all own property around the courthouse, so they're wanting to get the clock to be brighter and prettier. LED.
You can control it.
If you want to come up here and talk, Lori?
What's up there now is two flags. T12s, the 8-foot fluorescent, you know what they are? That's what's lit up there. So from one side you can see really bright, the other side you can see pretty bright, the other two sides you can't really see the clock face at all. But there's beautiful glass up there that you can really see from the interstate.
A lot of people don't know that there's glass in the dome.
In the dome itself. So we how easy the job is going to be here. There's already electrical pretty much in all the places that it needs to be, so this will be LED, so substantially cheaper to run, easier, bulbs last a lot longer, and you can control it with an app. So if at Christmas you want 2 sides to be green and 2 sides to be red, and at 4th of July or Veterans Day, you want it to be blue and red, you can control it, which would be
Oh, wow.
awesome. From the interstate, it would be a fabulous ad.
When we were messaging about that, I didn't understand. I thought it would be changed at Christmas. I didn't think about the lights being controlled.
It's just an app,
That's
and
neat.
I actually have it probably super, you can just go Christmas, and it would change.
And I submitted the bid from Parker on that, just so we could discuss it. They would take care of it at a discount, because he wants to see it happen, so I don't know. I'm sure there's other things that have to be done, I don't know.
Normally, this is kind of the backwards way of doing it. I wonder what the historical folks would say if we start changing the lights and
One other thing, this isn't exterior like it says on the agenda, it's actually interior lights that point out. All
I got
the
you.
exterior lights remain and stay the same.
I know, but they get persnickety.
Yeah.
Sure,
Yeah.
surely they wouldn't mind. I mean, we can ask them, I mean, because
I don't know.
It
It
was
would
my
brighten
understanding
things.
it was bulb color, so they don't like the 5,000 K, right? They like the more candelabra, I mean, the incandescent light.
Yellow with the lights is what they prefer.
Yeah.
It's 98% of the time it will really be lighting the clock face and the ornate part of the dome.
I didn't know we had
You
a
never
problem.
have to change the color.
Do what?
I said I didn't know we had a problem with them. I know we went through all that when we redid it and lit it all back up, and they made us didn't we put all new faces on that thing?
New clock faces.
All new clock faces.
They put the lighting that's there now.
They put the lighting that's there.
That's why the basement's so dark.
I couldn't hear you.
That's why the basement is so dark.
Well, the reason the basement's so dark is they forced us to put that lighting in too. But,
Which is,
but it's historical.
I get part of it I don't
Yeah,
understand.
it wasn't my idea.
But maybe we can put a letter together for this historical society, see if they would even allow it, and we can discuss it again. I mean, that-
I see a long-term benefit just based on cost. Initially, I was concerned if it's just cosmetic, why would we want to spend the money? But LED is cheaper to operate.
It is the old T12 big long bulbs, and there's just 2 strips, so you get lighting on 2 sides, but the other 2 sides, you can't see the clock face hardly at all.
But they're clear. Those T12s are clear.
Yeah, but they're
So
expensive.
I don't see why anybody have a problem with us putting in clear lighting.
I don't know either. I don't,
Oh, yeah, they're not yellow.
Now, see, they're,
they're T8s.
T8's even older.
well, but they're still white.
But yeah, it's bright white light, it's
Yeah.
not yellow incandescent
Yeah.
color.
Yeah, I don't see there's a problem.
I wouldn't be surprised if
No, that would be
you could set it to that yellow light.
Shelley
That's
question.
really what you want.
This is just
Did
thrown
he
on
give
us.
a budget? Did he give a budget?
He gave an estimate or a quote, however we want to word it, of 2640.
2640.
If it were strictly,
Typically, the way this works is if you have an idea, bring it up here and we discuss it and decide whether we want to do it, and we get a quote and we figure out. And if anything with this building, we always say mother may I, because they're pretty persnickety about what we do with it. I don't think they'll have a problem with it. I don't know. I'll let you talk to them.
I mean, it looks like proactive. The only thing he did different is he come to the court informed and gave us some idea what it's going to cost
Yeah.
versus us
It's-
chitty chat and then go back and get the bid and drag it out another 4, 5, 6 weeks.
If you
So,
really want to get it done,
Well-
you need to ask one of the commissioners when I put together the proposal so that they have it in hand.
so we're ahead of the game in reality. Now we have something to present to THC.
Well, that's fine. I'll remember that on the parking lot.
What?
I said, I'll remember that when I get a price for the parking lot. But anyway, that's fine. I just want to make sure we talk to the THC.
Yeah, for sure.
And I don't know, we talked about putting up Christmas decorations and stuff that time, if we could do any of that Christmas lighting, and they frowned upon that. Seriously, because it had never been done before. But I don't know. Sounds
Okay.
like it'd be pretty.
Yeah, it does sound. Rick, will you take the action to reach out to THC and see if they have any objections? Is there enough information here for you to be able to speak to it succinctly?
So if I can get what he's proposing to put, I'll send that to him.
I can
Okay.
email that to you.
Perfect. All right. Then I'm-
Thank you very much
Yeah,
for
thank you very
bringing
much.
it to us.
Yeah.
We appreciate y'all.
Recommend we take no action on item 10. We'll leave it on the agenda for the next court.
Does he have money in his budget to do it?
I have no idea how much it is. I haven't seen it.
2640, but we need to go out for other bids, do we not, Shelley?
Or quotes?
Because the cost of it, is that an issue, Shelley?
I don't know.
You could.
We could, but if that was just an expense going to the courthouse, and it's budgeted through courthouse maintenance, Ricky could pick up the phone and call and say, do it, right?
Okay,
We can cross all that when we.
yeah.
Let's see, if THC lets us, fine, if you don't, then
I
it's a
didn't hear
moot.
anything you said.
It won't matter. If THC says no, it's a moot issue.
Right.
I don't think
Okay, thanks, Rick. Then no action on item 10. We'll move to item 11, deliberate and consider possible approval of MOU with Deputy Jansen Baggett for use of explosive K9 Monroe.
That is
Did you
correct.
bring him with you today?
Well, I had Janine initially this morning, and she's pretty sick, and so I told her to just go back home.
there's a nice picture of the dog in here.
I did. It's kind of a Christmas
Yeah, there's a nice.
photograph. Did y'all see that? So, anyway, Janine is our current canine handler for the drug dog. She also has an explosive dog that's her personal dog. Janine's done quite a bit of work. In fact, when I hired her, she was working at FedEx with that dog. But she's also worked for the NBA, American Airlines Center, and several other places. She's offered to let us use the dog, which I think is extraordinary. But all she wants in return is if we call the dog out and the dog gets injured, she would like for the county to reimburse her for the vet bills. She's not asking for dog food or vaccines or routine care. She'll do that on her own. So I think it's a great offer. TAC, for insurance purposes, is fully covered, both the dog and the deputy. If the deputy was injured using that dog. So they see no difference between that and our current dog.
If something happens to the dog, it's a critical situation, they will pay for replacement of the dog. TAC would.
I was inquiring about liability. If something happened and the dog injured someone else, or the dog's not a bad dog, but
I'm just concerned if she was to lose the dog on the scene, and you'd hope that would never happen, is she going to expect us to replace the animal?
she's not indicated that. She just wants the vet bills covered.
And I'd be curious if we could insure for that.
So, Shelley, did you ask that question to TAC as far as if the dog?
The dog is covered up to $30,000 minus $1,000 cover.
Okay, so,
So that would cover the dog.
And if something were to happen and the dog injured someone, not a suspect, then those injuries are covered also.
move to approve.
Yes, second.
I have a motion to approve and a second by Commissioner Snuggs. Motion by Commissioner Hollowell and a second by Commissioner Snuggs to approve the MOU with Deputy Jansen Backett for the use of a canine.
Judge, also, if you maybe stipulate this as well, but I would ask the court to allow you to sign the document.
Oh, the MOU, I'd add that to the motion to allow the judge to sign the MOU, please.
And second.
Okay.
And I was just going to say one thing. I think it's really impressive that she came over from private FedEx to come work for us. That's really great.
You bet. And an invaluable tool. You know, the dog is not only an explosive dog, but for firearms as well as ammunition. So if we had a student in one of our schools that might have it in their vehicle, the dog could locate it. Certainly could locate it in a locker if they took it inside. But we might have a suspect who tossed a firearm in the bar ditch or out in the pasture that we'd be looking for. Very, very valuable tool for us to have. So,
I guess the crime scene, the dog would find cases, probably empty cases if you were looking for something at the crime scene.
or loaded ammunition in a magazine. Anyway,
That's great.
carry on.
Okay. Item number 11, I have a motion to accept the agreement with Deputy Baggett for the explosive K-9 and to allow Judge Starnes to sign that contract from Commissioner Hollowell, a second from Commissioner Snuggs. Any further discussion? All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. Item number 12, deliberate and consider possible.
Judge, if you'll use this, I've signed it, you
Sure.
signed it this morning. And we can just get a copy of that.
We'll get it back to you. Item 12, deliberate and consider possible approval of budgeting insurance money of $36,500 with an additional amount of $18,500 from contingency to replace 2018 Chevrolet Tahoe, Unit 21, totaled in an accident on October 11th of 2021, and budget amendment for same.
Yeah, this crash was not our fault. If, Jason, you may remember, it happened down at 922 at North Shore.
Bad accident.
But it was inches from being possibly head-on, maybe even a deadly crash. But deputy had very, very minor injuries. And anyway, like I said, it wasn't his fault. The vehicle came over in our lane. So if you had the second page, that's kind of a breakdown of you know, what the new unit cost, the insurance settlement, and then additional items there that we need. I believe we actually sold the old unit or let TAC have it for salvage. That unit's already been stripped. They may have already come and got it.
Did you get my email Friday? We received an additional check of a little over $8,200 for the equipment that was damaged also. So this 18,500 can be reduced down to
10,300.
10,300.
That was a 4-year-old unit, so
Because the new ones now come with new equipment.
Gotcha.
Move to approve.
Have a motion to approve by Commissioner Snuggs for the amount necessary to replace the 2018 Chevrolet Tahoe, Unit 21.
Second.
A second from Commissioner Arndt. Any further discussions? All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you, Sheriff.
thank you, Judge. Thank you, Commissioner.
Item 13, deliberate and consider possible actions regarding Main Street lot. Anybody have anything on the lot?
Now, what was the engineering firm said they wanted to put 70 some odd parking spaces on that lot? We know that's not going to happen, remember?
That sounds right.
I think we ought to, I don't know what's holding us up on it. I know there was talk with the city of Gainesville, and we got an email from them about what a parking garage would cost. I think everybody saw that, didn't they?
Yep. Well, one of the holdups is the contractor doing the roof here wants to use that lot
Yeah.
to store.
I got you.
And I believe that the contractor over here, when we start the annex, is also going to use some portion of that. We don't know for sure yet.
So we intend to cover that lot up for storage for the next probably 6 months, 4 months?
Yeah.
We could still start looking though.
Yeah, we can be working on
We
it.
can still be working on it, because I don't know if the city is ready to spend that kind of money. I don't know if you've had any conversations with,
Nothing other than what Barry shared with us.
I talked to Barry. Barry thought we were going to start working on it. He wanted to know, he was under the impression we were gonna start working on that little parking lot sooner rather than later, and I said, well, we have other things going on with it. Right now, we have storage on it. I didn't know how long that would be there. But, I don't know. What would be the next step? I know the plan that we were given isn't gonna work, because that's too many spots.
Last time we talked about getting the specs drawn up.
Yeah. But we gotta get an engineering firm that'll,
Draw the specs, the bid process.
I'll let you finish signing your name to everything.
Sure.
I don't want you to forget.
I won't. We can certainly reach out and see if we can get somebody to put together a bid proposal. I think we had one quote, but I never received anything from anyone else, so I guess we only have one person interested.
Well, parking's not gonna improve.
No, probably not.
It's only gonna get worse.
But unless we send out a QFR, RFQ.
RFQ, I was gonna say, wait a minute.
RFQ,
Wait a minute.
you cannot speak to multiple people, multiple firms.
Gotcha.
So we need to
Oh,
set
that's
up-
right. That's the reason we're only talking to one. I remember that now. Yep.
Yeah.
So
So what do we need to do? Put it on the next meeting, to go out
We'll
for
put it-
RFQs?
yeah, we don't have an official RFQ, but
We have a group of engineers we can use.
yeah.
Well, we've talked to one.
We talked to one.
Yeah.
How do they do an RFQ until we give them a scope of work?
You don't.
Yeah.
You do an RFQ to look for the firm. They don't know anything about the project. You're looking for the firm. You hire the firm.
And so we're not, but we got to define what we want them to do in that RFQ.
No, not
No.
necessarily.
No,
You just
they'll-
look for a firm.
You look at a firm to look at your piece of property and you tell them
No,
what you.
you just look for a
Well,
firm.
You look for a firm. Somewhere along the line, somebody has to tell them what you want to do.
Right.
Yeah.
So when you look for a firm,
Yeah. Can we pick between the engineering firms that we use?
you can, yeah.
But then you're done talking to whoever you're talking to now, is what I'm hearing.
Well, we could select that individual.
Well, we could,
And the one that we have talked to is one of the ones,
that's one of the ones. If you're not happy with them, you can go to a different one.
right.
That's what I'm asking. Are you all wanting to work with those? It's Dannenbaum, or they don't call themselves?
Even on purpose.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
don't. Okay. They changed their name anyway.
They did?
Dannenbaum did.
Oh,
It's DES now or something like that.
DE maybe?
D
I
something.
mean, if they can, if the ball's already rolling with them, I mean, it doesn't, to me.
Is that satisfactory with everybody?
well, he's already got the email
I-
from Tegan on purpose.
Yeah, no, I have no problem at all. We'll put it on the next court and we'll move forward.
But Perkins and DE, Perkins a representative for DE? Okay, so we need to deal with who he's got an email with.
Yeah,
And-
or else toss it out and get somebody else.
Right.
Yeah. So,
We need to flesh out what they, if we don't, we can engage them, right?
Yeah.
And if we don't like what they come up with, we can throw that aside and go to a different one.
Yeah.
So since they gave us one,
Preliminary.
they bid on the hook first, we ought to see what they can come up with and then move on from there.
Yeah,
'cause I
I'm
promise you
totally
by-
confident.
Is that all
Okay.
satisfactory with everybody?
it is.
All right. Do I need a motion? I'll make a motion that we instruct the judge to proceed with the Main Street parking lot.
Second.
I have a motion to proceed with an RFQ for the Main Street parking lot. for
No, not an
Commissioner.
RFQ.
Yeah, do we not need to do an RFQ?
No, we've already got this guy, this company on the string, so we need to.
So their next step would be to,
So what would be the official action, Shelley? What do we do? What do we do next with these people?
You need to get a contract.
Okay, so,
similar to what's on the next agenda item.
That's
so
how I look at it.
maybe the motion should be that the judge will move forward with getting a contract to be discussed and approved at the next meeting.
That's fine.
And I second that.
Have that motion from Commissioner Clement and a second from Commissioner Snuggs. Any further discussion? All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. Item 14, deliberate and consider possible actions regarding the Crest Building. You guys have an update?
Icon has sent us an agreement for consulting services. There's notes.
Yeah, and this agreement with, basically, they can do they can assess the restrooms, assess everything we need to do to try to make our wishes come true. And Mr. Isbell here is here to answer any questions and maybe brief us on it.
Is this quote for all 3 levels or just for one level? Or
As I understand it, we're going to start with the first level.
so this quote's for the one level?
Correct, the first level. We'll have to consider codes for the fact that it is multi-story. So we'll have to look at stairs and the elevator,
So it
means of egress.
It includes more than just the ground floor.
Correct, so the concept floor plan and the space allocation will be for the first floor. That will be our focus in addressing restrooms and spatial allocations and function within that for some record storage, auditor space, and DPS.
Well, when you get into that building, you're going to have to prove up the elevator, right? Because
Correct.
that'll be one of the first things you do is make sure it's ADA and all that. And
Yes, so
if it's not,
correct.
go ahead.
Means of egress and accessibility will be one of the first things to consider, and also for things like ambulatory services, which would include the elevator. Just the fact that it is a multi-story building, you still have to check the codes with the state, with Texas accessibility standards to make sure that the elevator would be compliant. It may be you don't have to address the elevators until you do the next level, but it is something we need to know about from the onset of the project.
So while we're working on the first level, some of the stuff's going to bleed over for upstairs.
Correct. If you find out when you get on the second level that, we got to move the elevator, you've just
Correct.
made a mess.
The concern I have over focusing on simply the first level right now, if we occupy it and then we need additional restrooms for second floor, or will we have assessed that? In other words, we got to give them some idea maybe how we plan to occupy the second level, so that, because one of the things we need to know is, are we going to have adequate restroom facilities?
I think that's
For
kind
X
of what
amount of
you're
people.
saying.
Yeah, that's part of it as well, because there's code requirements, and you'll basically have water closet calculations based on the occupancy and the use of the space. So we'll have to address the restrooms on the first floor for the occupants of the first floor.
Yeah, my concern is though, then if we need additional restrooms somewhere, how's that going to impact our first floor construction ultimately?
Well, I would assume, maybe I shouldn't assume, but if you're going to look at the plumbing in it, you're going to look to see whether it can be added on to as you go up.
Yes, that's correct. We'll take into account the second floor if the restrooms are stacked, so all of your plumbing and, I don't know.
I don't know that they are stacked at this point.
But if we reconfigure the restrooms for the first floor, we may want to capitalize on that on the second floor.
My concern is we go upstairs and look and see if we have room to expand over them, I would guess, because it's going to cost us less, I would think, and I just don't want us to, and one thing I don't want to happen is end up, we go over and occupy the first floor, and we leave the second floor unoccupied for 9 years like we did over here.
Well, when we met with him, we only have the floor plan for the first floor done. So if we need to, while he's beginning the first floor, we need to get our second floor plan done so that we can add that into this scope of work.
He's looking at our wish list.
He's
right now.
looking at the wish list.
Yeah, that's all we have.
And we've talked about this with the elevator. If you might think, looking at the elevator, if you're not going to operate the other 2 floors, is kind of foolish to do it now. But if there's something that we can't use the elevator in the future for with the ADA requirements or whatever, then you may have to move where the elevator is, and now you've just negated everything you've done on the first floor. Because you're gonna,
Yes, and also,
so I think with the plumbing and everything, he may not know exactly what the configuration will be, but you'll have a pretty good idea how many restrooms you can add up and down when
Yes,
you're through.
we'll have a good idea, and when we're doing the code checks, I mean, a lot of it's going to apply to the second floor as well. So we'll know a lot about it, and just like Commissioner Snug said, if we are working on this first floor, we can always add to it to go further into the second floor. But the main concept of function and space and requirements, we're going to take into account the fact that it is multiple stories while we're laying out this first story.
We'll kind of add on what Commissioner Hollowell was talking about. The concern that I have with not doing all three levels, we intend to occupy at some point the basement as well, but if there is a requirement for additional bathrooms or whatever, if we have done anything on the first floor, will it accommodate what needs to be on the second floor from a plumbing standpoint? Nothing would be more disappointing than we go in and add a couple of restrooms on the first floor, and then we find out that we need another restroom on the second floor. But had we done them concurrently, the plumbing might have been usable for both levels in some aspect. Does that make sense?
That makes perfect sense.
I thought that's what he just told us, that
Yeah.
we're going to take into consideration.
Let me phrase this another way. What will it take in dollars and cents for you to take the top floor and the basement? The intent long-term is we may do document storage in the basement, so it would need dehumidifying. And is there any complications with the load that would be associated with the elevator if we did that? Is that are we talking about tripling your bid, or we?
I would like to go look at it before I would be able to tell you exactly how much.
You've only looked at the first floor at this point?
I've only looked at the first floor, correct.
Okay.
It's been a few years. I've been on the second floor, but I don't quite remember exactly the layout of the second floor. But I don't know the answer in dollars right now.
Okay.
But we can certainly do it. And essentially, all that really would be doing would be tying in some more code research and some site observations to make sure that what we're doing on the first floor wouldn't have any impact on the other floors. Correct. As I understand right now, we wouldn't necessarily be laying out all those floors at this time. But yeah, we can add a little bit of that scope to what you have now. Or we could get started and add it later. I think that's an option too.
Well, I have issues with this agreement.
Ultimately,
There's that too.
I don't know what the court's position is, but I'd like to see us go ahead and address that basement early on, because that's significant opportunity for some storage. We talked about going in and basically creating petitions with cyclone fencing, maybe, divided up into 4 big storage facilities, but it has moisture issues right now. And then the other thing that I think is absolutely imperative is if we're going to occupy that building, that elevator needs to work, and it needs to work during this phase 1 process.
Well, that's the reason, we've been talking about this for so long, and every time we get to this place, it's, well, wait a minute, we don't want to occupy all 3 floors, we don't know if the elevator's going to work, we want to go to the first floor, we got these ideas for the first floor, so here we bring an agreement up here, and now it's, well, but you got to prove up all 3 floors. Okay, got to prove up the elevator. We got to start somewhere. Now, you may not like the agreement. Maybe it needs to be tweaked. In this agreement, it says even about document storage. I didn't know we bought that building to take the first floor and make it into document storage. We've talked about the basement. I understand that, but I don't know if a basement's a good place to put document storage or not either, because of the dampness and everything else. If it can be fixed, that's fine. That's for somebody like you to tell me.
Yes, we can
It
address
mentions
things like
in
that. And you're right, there are some concerns with the basement and humidity.
Yeah, we make assumptions that we're not 100% sure about things that we'd like to happen. But in this agreement, it talks about possible wall removal in offices.
I'm not into the weeds.
Well, I know, but anyway, about removing some walls for document storage. I don't want to start tearing offices up in there for document storage. I don't think we intend to put documents in there long-term, do we?
No,
In
no.
the floor plan,
No, it's temporary.
Okay, I wanted to, because.
And by all means, I believe, correct, and as minimal demolition as possible is probably what we're going to be looking for.
And I actually
We're
thought
looking
that document storage, we were going to add some petitions, particularly in that one large room.
Don't know.
Anyway.
What's your problem, Jim?
The contracts made specifically as the client as Commissioner Precinct 2?
Oh,
Yeah, we can change that to county judge.
Treasurer's
yes.
not mentioned, is she not moving?
The who?
The treasurer,
Oh,
Yes, she is.
yeah.
I kind of like that client as Commissioner Precinct 2. in that
unless he
position.
wants to pay the bill.
Sure makes my shoulders.
He's gonna pay for the lighting upstairs.
I thought he asked permission, I might
Don't
be confused.
misconstrue. We want to move as fast as we possibly can, but we just want to make sure that we have a good strategic plan that doesn't put us into a position where we've overlooked something that might affect the other two levels. So that's not on you, that's on us. We just really didn't give you enough information and scope of work for you to effectively give us some advice. So
But the day we talked about that, we talked about, Judge, I think you're missing the point. I don't think he's just gonna look at the bottom floor. We talked about all this.
Well, the way the contract reads, it says first floor. And I have no problem with all, if we add on second floor and basement onto that contract, you've
That's
got
fine.
my seal of, or tentatively, that would give my approval.
And Commissioner Clement, I mean, we can add, I think really what we're looking for is just making sure like the infrastructure, everything that we're doing, we can do a little more in-depth research and
That's
add
fine.
that to it, just to make sure. But you're correct. I mean, the intent is whatever we do on whichever floor we start with, we want to make sure when we come back for subsequent floors that we don't have any surprises.
And just like that called out in the contract, so there's no
That's fine.
confusion.
And yes, I can add that language
Thank
in
you.
there, and the treasurer.
What we got approved that day when we were told we could go find someone was work on the first floor. But
And see, I didn't recall that, and I was surprised when this come out limited to the first floor, so there's something there I'm,
we were,
We only had the first floor ironed out. That's all we told them.
that's all we told them. But
Yeah, no problem. I mean, it's.
The ball's rolling, so it's
It's
good.
going, yeah, no worry.
I understand. I mean, you have a building and you want to do something with it, and I mean, I understand. There's a lot to it.
I would think we could have the second floor pretty much figured out before
Sure.
they even get too far into the bottom floor anyways, you know? We just have to
Right.
get.
I just want to get started on something.
Just get started, right?
Yes.
so we need some revisions to the contract, we'll bring it back 2 weeks and move forward.
Do y'all have a space planner on?
We do.
It'd be nice if you had,
Say again?
It's a space plan, architect that looks at the space plan.
Oh, okay.
Yes, and-
Space
plan.
And we have interior design. as
whether
well.
these groups of people fit together.
Are you worried about who you're going to fit?
You're
with?
correct.
Thank you.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's definitely part of it is the function of the building and public access and private spaces, secure access. So yeah, we will be looking at all
That was part of the questions. You have to understand, when we talked, Snuggs and I visited with him, it was what collectively, this group, I didn't draw it out on paper. We walked over there and looked at it together, and it was what we collectively had a dream about putting in the bottom floor of that building. And he knows that he's supposed to, will it even work, the people that we want to put over there? That's all part of it.
We apologize.
Oh, no need to
No.
apologize at all, Judge.
Yeah, there's no one at fault here. There's just a misunderstanding. We just need to get it clarified to make sure that we're congruent with all three floors as we're moving forward with this, knowing that we're only going to occupy the one relatively soon.
So if I understand correctly, just add some language in there
Yep,
about that,
please.
and the treasurer coming as part of it.
Change who your client
And-
is.
Yep, change to the judge,
No,
Just Cooke
Just
County.
Cooke
County.
not to the judges.
The judge can pay for it if he wants to.
No,
too.
no.
That's fine.
If you want me to write you a check, you're gonna make sure it's, yeah.
That's definitely preferred.
I'm not paying you because that takes away from the
Now, then, any questions for us? We grilled you. You're welcome to
I would
ask us
just
some questions.
want to go look at it.
Sure,
So
we
I
can
can
arrange
schedule
that.
that through commissioners and just go look
And
at it.
I've now got a key, so it's a lot
Okay.
easier.
I'll just let you know whenever this afternoon we can talk about schedules.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's it?
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Commissioner Clement.
Thanks for being here. That made it a lot better.
Yeah, thanks a
Commissioner
lot.
Snow.
Thanks for coming. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm glad you called.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate y'all taking point on this. Okay, item number 15. Deliberate and consider possible actions regarding Annex. We met with the builder and worked on the contractor, and worked on some language concerning the contract. The plan leaving that meeting was for him to have that completed and back to us for the court on the 27th. And then the pre-construction meeting would be the first week of January, and construction would also start the first week of January.
That really is for us to send it to the architect.
Say again?
Those changes are really for us to send to the architect.
To the contract. Yes, we're sending them to the, as I understand it, please correct me if I'm wrong, is our county attorney was sending them back to the contractor for him to fill out the contract. He's sending it back to us, and then we're sending it to the architect. Is that not the right sequence of events?
No.
What do you believe are?
Our role is to make the adjustments in the contract to send to the architect, and the architect incorporates them and then sends them.
Okay, I'll follow up with Ed, because I do not believe that's the way he's pursuing.
I just, based on his email, it looks like if Dustin is with the contractor, he's sending the contractor action items to go incorporate this in the contract.
Yeah.
And that doesn't, I don't know why we would ask a vendor or contractor or somebody else to draft the contract that we want to be the ones.
We never, Komatsu, in my opinion, fell pretty hard on their face on this one, because I've been involved in public buildings before, and we've never had to do our own AI contract. And I don't understand why Komatsu didn't do it.
It looked like Komatsu provided us with the boilerplate to be marked up back on November 17th.
I don't know.
So that looks to me like it reached Cooke County on November the 17th, probably hit our attorney's office on the 22nd, and then there was a meeting held that, we've never had a meeting like that.
No.
It's gone from the architect sends the boilerplate, we send it back to the architect, he verifies everything we've added is fixed, is correct, then he sends it to the contractor reviews it, and if he doesn't make comments, signs it, comes back to us for signatures, and we're off and running.
The county attorney's never written those up for us before.
We've never used the county attorney for that stuff.
That's what I said.
And there's no,
We're
it
supposed to
typically,
mark up the contract, send it back to the architect, they incorporate the changes, and then take care of it.
So why didn't it happen that way?
well, it looks like it was a boilerplate type contract, which is usually what you and I see. And somewhere it got off in the abyss whenever.
Well, and maybe I'm responsible for this to a degree. Rick Stacy sent the boilerplate in. I called him and asked him what actions needed to be taken on our part and the contractor's part. He checked with his contract group, came back to me and said, you need to have a meeting with the contractor, and you and the contractor work out the details that go into it. If that was not the correct form, then I need to reach back out to Rick Stacy at Komatsu and explain to him that that's not the way we have done it previously. Has something changed in the rules of engagement?
I know Ed asked me about it once. He said, why am I getting this? I don't know.
It looks like it came to us for review and comments to be sent back to him in what his document says. But again, you were privy to the conversation, I wasn't. The other issue I have with this is when we start renaming the property owner from Cooke County, and, for 100 years, property owner's been Cooke County. And everybody in the world knows counties are run by commissioners' courts. Why we felt like we had to go on and say that the commissioners' court as a body is the approval authority of the county. Well, what's driving that?
No idea.
You have any idea why they would do that? So my recommendation to the court is that we put a period at the end of the purposes for this contract, Cook County shall be identified as the owner, period.
It's in any contingency event that would cost more than $10,000 will not be performed. Any contingency event period would have to come through Commissioners Court, I would think. Regardless of dollar amount, right?
No.
Well, the part of the proposal had a $50,000 contingency.
Okay.
So they can spend that, but
Who
in
is,
the
who's they,
meeting,
Shelley?
they wanted, if anything was 10,000 or more, they wanted
Okay.
All
to
right.
come back to court to approve that.
Y'all said it was an under $1 million contract. It was not. It was a $900 and some thousand contract with a $50,000 or whatever it is dollar contingency, which the contract was over $1 million. The reason for the $10,000 is the contractor said, well, I don't have to get permission to go over the 900 and some thousand because there sits $50,000 contingency, and the way it's written up, I can just do it if I want to. And I said, well, you might ought to, we had to put some kind of
caveat.
some kind of trigger,
But he can indiscriminately go spend $50,000.
the way it's written
Oh,
up.
yeah,
The way it's written.
yeah, because
So-
that's part of the proposal.
And I did reach out to Rick Stacy on that, and he says that's real common, that nearly all of them have a contingency that gives the contractor the latitude for miscellaneous and unforeseen things, increases in prices, for them to do that without waiting 2 weeks for the court. Now,
It makes sense.
I don't know. This was the first
Yeah,
contract I've been involved in.
Supply chain issues or wanting to buy pine doors and can't get them, so he has to buy oak doors and the prices.
Well, I mean, ultimately, we've dug this thing out. When did we award this? 5, 6 weeks ago? What?
The first court in November, I think.
First court, November. This is 3 weeks. We're not going to have a pre-construction meeting now till January. That's 60 days with inflation and stuff of that nature. Cost is headed up. But if
We paid dearly for Komatsu. The AIA should have showed up here like it was. The contract and the if you're worried about the contingency,
No.
we thought, we have no idea what he'll spend the $50,000 on. It would be kind of nice.
Yeah, I'm not worried about it now that it's explained to me. I thought,
and
I'm popping contingency, I didn't figure the dollar amount would trigger it.
I don't have an issue other than if there's anything requiring change orders, all change orders have always come to the court. So I was unaware that he can just indiscriminately begin to siphon that.
I guess
So,
a contingency wouldn't be
I mean-
a change order necessarily.
yeah, that's what it's, so, but I want to go back up to finish 3. Do we want that to be the county as the owner, or do we want to make that the Commissioners Court? And of course, I'm being a little bit facetious, but if somebody goes over there after this thing's finished and does a slip and fall, they're going to sue the county, they're going to sue the Commissioners Court.
Well,
So-
here's what I'd like to do. I'd like to be able to agree to the contract on the 27th, continue to have the pre-construction meeting the first week in January, and start construction in January. Now, if that means we need to have another special court in between now and the 27th and get Komatsu, the contractor, our attorneys, and any other attorneys anyone may think's applicable in order to do that, I'm fine with that, guys. Is that the best way to go here?
Is Ed in the building today?
I have texted him and asked him to join us. He has not responded.
And I don't know.
We
that
can
this-
have, if there's still some confusion on the contract, I think that we need to vet it out. That's something that's very important, that we get that correct, so we know the rules of engagement, the contractor knows the rules, and the architect knows the rules. So I recommend that we take no action. I'll set a special meeting for the entire court, along with the contractor, Komatsu, and whoever else we think is applicable.
That'll just slow it down some more. What's your biggest problem here?
Oh,
Because
for the most part, I can buy into this because this is pretty much boilerplate.
Yeah.
Deal with the thing. 100 years, the owner has been Cook County. and it hadn't needed to be defined as who the authority was for Cooke County. So I'm wondering what's driving that? What are we concerned about? And the rest of this, as far as I'm concerned, can move forward as is, but it needs to be, my opinion, we need to go back to the document Rick Stacy sent us, which is a boilerplate document, modify it, and instead of having 1 through 10 here, if it's A32 in this contract, in other words, where are you going to go incorporate these comments like this if you don't go say, I'm addressing this bullet or this line item? I mean,
Ask Komatsu. It still goes back to Komatsu, but that, Shelley, you were in there that day. The deal about the Commissioners Court as a body is the approval authority. Was that for any cost overruns? That's what that was about, wasn't it?
I think
Whether
Ed wanted it to read Commissioners Court.
versus something else.
versus whether, I think the concern was, can somebody just, that's what it was. The concern was, can people just come over there and start asking them to do things? And can somebody just sign off on something, try to get a change going? The Commissioners Court would be the governing body that could approve the change orders, which is normally typical.
But it's statutory. I mean, the judge is the signature guy.
Exactly.
You know, now, in the court, if
But the
they
deal
score-
was, he can't just, the gentleman asked, can the judge, I believe that was part of the question, can the judge sign off on change orders?
No, they have to come to court.
Yeah, I know.
As I remember it, there was some confusion as to previously that judges had signed off on stuff that wasn't authorized correctly.
Exactly.
Okay, that was, as I
That was
remember.
part of it.
But this contractor has done work from several counties and they know better.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, it's very elementary to go in and write in something that's 1, statutory, 2, is historic, 3, you know, how many contracts have you and I worked with over the years? And Cooke County's always been the owner. You know, if somebody paranoid about something, that somebody's going to break a law, or, I mean, it takes 3 votes to get anything done. We know that. So it's got to come back to the court for the 3 votes.
I think you're making as big a mountain out of the molehill that this makes.
Well, for 100 years it said Cooke County. Why do I want to set precedent so that every contract in the future comes in and says, okay, the owner's Cooke County, but by gosh, y'all understand, we don't want anybody but the whole court doing something. You're going to have to put a point of contact over there at some point in time. Okay? Don't know who that's going to be.
I think that was so someone, if you've forgotten, when we moved into this building, someone signed all the documents.
Were they not approved by the court?
Nope.
Well, should we take action with that
No,
individual, or should we now?
I think that's part of what got part of this, but the gentleman was concerned about who was going to sign off on change order. Because we got off on the contingency, and I don't know if Shelley, who asked the question
I don't
about the
remember.
contingency? Anyway, he said the contingency, there's not a trigger on contingency. Like I said, I believe you're making as big a molehill out of something that someone else, or you think someone else is making.
I think somebody's taking editorial liberties to write in something that's just fodder.
Well, would everybody be,
I don't think you're an attorney. So let's
I've
get
been
the
told it
county,
many times.
let's get the county attorney in here.
would we all be good with this contract if we changed it back to Cooke County, Texas, and removed all of the verbiage concerning the court specifically?
I'm not going to change anything.
Okay.
I'm good with it. I'd make a motion, we do that. If we can get 3 votes, we can get on down the road.
What are you going to do? Change it?
I'm going to put a period to that says Cooke County's the owner. That's my motion.
Have a motion to change the contract back to Cooke County as being the owner in lieu of Cooke County and the Commissioners Court as the body of approval?
Well, all this says is Cooke County is the owner and the Commissioners Court has the approval authority. I don't know. I'm not an attorney. I'm not going to take an attorney's words in a.
The attorney works for us, doesn't he?
Yeah, but
He
I don't tell him how
represents
to write.
us, and if we
I didn't
choose
know. I didn't know we told attorneys how to write documents.
I know. I think I would tell them how I wanted to be represented.
Yeah.
So I think
And you
that
should
that's
have
a
had
huge
Komatsu,
precedent.
then you should have had Komatsu write this up instead of bringing it
Let
to
them
us.
come out.
We asked Komatsu to write it up, and they said they do not do that. We can
Well-
certainly bring them on a telephone conference.
Somebody
Well, but they
has always
provided some
written it before.
boilerplate, which should have been sufficient. I got a motion on the floor, Judge. I don't, whichever way it goes.
Have a motion to identify Cooke County as the owner.
I'm just curious why he did it.
Well, I was unable to
Yeah.
reach him.
Well, you were in the room that day.
Yeah, as I understand it, there was concern that the judge could have authority to overstep in the sign-off processes, and that this should clearly remediate that possibility.
I thought it was more of a, since we had the discussion, can you take the extra 50,000 and spend it how you want to, that before somebody just signed off on it, because the builder brought up the fact that, am I going to have people over here requesting changes? And I said, that can't happen.
If it can't happen, that's a
Yeah.
non-issue.
No,
So,
And
no, he said that after the quote was made that we needed to change the verbiage, that everything went through the court, and that was clearly identified.
is that when he said
That's when he
that?
said, yeah, that made perfect sense, didn't want people over there.
it
And he
sounds
said-
like we're
but he-
trying to eliminate the judge from the contract, to eliminate or
Did you
limit
feel
the
like we were
judge's
trying to
appropriate.
eliminate you?
No, I believe, no, and I'm good with that. Yes, I did, but I'm okay with that. I have no problem with that at all. But yes, I distinctly got the impression that you and Ed both felt like that there had been liberties taken with this building, as you had just
There
said,
was, it was this one.
that ended up costing the county significant.
But there's been
amount.
other construction projects since this.
Yeah.
Several.
I didn't take it to mean that we didn't trust the judge to sign off on contracts. It was just when they had change orders.
We need the judge to be the
I'll
point of
second Gary's
contact.
motion.
I have a motion from Commissioner Hollowell to change it to Cooke County as the owner, a second by Commissioner Snuggs. Any further discussion from anyone? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
And the reason I'm doing that is I will not change the legal verbiage that the county attorney has put in here because I'm not an attorney.
Okay. And the motion carries 4-1 with Commissioner Clement opposing. Item number 16, deliberate and consider possible actions regarding radio communication system.
I got an
Can
email.
you update, Gary?
I'm sorry.
Can you update on the radio
Just one
communication?
second here. I got an email while we were sitting here. As you know, we were expecting Pyramid to start work on Rice Avenue in Pentex. Unfortunately, subcontractor emergency deployments to Arkansas and Kentucky and other tornado-stricken states is delayed. So what I read from that is a lot of Motorola's resources have gone to the catastrophe in Kentucky. So that's going to push us out to some degree. They were going to do the installations, the electrical work at Rice and Pentex is what they were going to start this week. So that's been delayed. I think one of the other things that has come up is once we begin to simulcast, our existing P25 radios are not, they are capable of simulcast. They're currently not programmed to be simulcast. So we're probably going to have to go out and touch some 300 radios if we want to help the volunteer fire departments out. We've been told probably at a bench rate of about $75 an hour. And, you know, once they get the footprint for one radio, once they plug it into one, they can duplicate it. They can do one every 3 or 4 or 5 minutes probably.
How many radios?
I'm sorry,
How many?
probably about 300.
Simulcast, we talking digital?
Okay, what that will do is that will make the fire departments digital capable. And when it's simulcast, when they tee up the radio, it's going to hit the closest tower to it, and if necessary, bounce off of one of the four or whatever to get back to the sheriff's office. Our radios are P25 compatible, but they've talked from the car to the base station through a single repeater.
Well, you had said that, you had told me a week ago that we thought they were digital, but they're not digital. Now, you're talking two different things.
No, I said the radios are digital, but at some
They are
point in
digital.
time, the fire departments used to, when the transition first started, and what I relate to as Gainesville PD and the sheriff's office, we had the digital channel and the analog channel. In other words, you had a sheriff's office digital channel and a sheriff's office analog. You had GPD, digital, analog. Fire departments didn't matter because they were always analog. So at one point in time, these radios had a digital and an analog, and now we're talking about the volunteer fire department radios. At some point in time, in one of the updates in the programs, the digital channel itself was eliminated in the list of channels. Well, the channels, the channel's not an issue. We've got to go back now and touch each one of them to enable them, it's a software upgrade, to enable them to simulcast. In other words, receive and transmit on multiple towers. Okay? So they've all got to be touched. So while they're being touched and being programmed, we'll just simply put the digital channel back in. The thought process is right now, Ray and the judge and I talked about it the other day, but assuming the court concurs, we will eliminate analog channels in this.
Nope.
Everybody will go digital. Everything will go digital.
No matter what brand of radio.
As long as they are P25 digital capable.
Because we have different.
Now, there is a question as to whether or not these Kenwoods that we have had, that we've recently, in the last 3 or 4 years, 5, whatever, 6 time applies, transition to, they may need some work done to them. Okay, they are capable, but they may have to be tweaked. I don't know what that means because I'm not a techie, but to ensure that the concern is if they park dead center between 2 towers, as I understand it, that radio, without some adjustments, may not be able to receive from 2 towers simultaneously, and it goes into a sleep mode, so to speak. Okay, so that is a concern, but we think Kenwood tells us it'll work.
How many Kenwoods we have?
I can't.
I've got Kenwood in my truck.
Yeah, there's, but you'll go digital. I mean, you'll go dual band. Everything we're buying new that's on the contract is a non-issue, okay? It's the stuff that is not going to be dual band, that's going to be VHF simulcast.
So what about our text fires channels?
No, they'll stay analog, I believe.
I thought you just said we won't have any analog.
Well, our primary.
Oh, okay. Those are just talking back radio to radio out on call, so it's different. Some of this goes over.
And of course, some folks are going to want a jig and primary channels in the radios, and we really don't need to go do that because typically now, once you get to a scene, you go off on a fire channel. Or if you go to another agency, say you go over to Henrietta like they did this week, they don't need Henrietta's primary frequency because they're going to switch over to a ground channel. Okay? Answer your question clear as mud?
So you got an estimate how much money?
You can do the math, Leon, but if there's 300 of them, in theory, and I think they've done this once before, where the west side fire stations all met, maybe at Munster or somewhere, and they programmed them several at a time.
Yeah.
And, you know, once he gets a list of frequencies and he gets them into his computer, and say it's a Motorola 2500, he can shoot, he screws the mic off, hooks up his computer, and he can shoot it in, probably less than a minute. Okay? But the problem is, there are going to be some XTL 2500s, there are going to be some 1500s, and there are going to be these Kenwoods. So I can't give you a definite, but yeah, $75 an hour, couple, 3 days, maybe,
A few thousand.
3 maybe, and that, don't hold me to that. But that's something, and that's assuming, and we know what you get when you assume, assuming that we want to give our radios that come out of our law enforcement vehicles to the volunteer fire departments. Or that we just either take them out of service. You can save that much money if you took them, but that's 30 or 40, probably more units. And I think it would be advantageous for the fire departments to get them if they will work, and then they are the digital. Sheriff, you got anything to add to that, or can you even hear me?
No, that's what I was gonna recommend is, we're not gonna have any use for those radios, the handhelds or the in-car radios that are coming out, so they should be outlawed in digital. That would be a pretty good number we can give, y'all can give away.
That number's in that estimated 300. Okay? Fletcher went out and tried to help us with that, so that's an estimate, that's an estimate on time, but he said, lots of times they'll charge you $30, $40, $50 just to reprogram a radio. He said, best thing for you to do is let us do it by the hour.
When do they think they're going to build the towers?
We're probably now looking at mid-January. I mean, this supply chain's affected everybody. They're no exception. So, do you see any alternatives?
I mean,
Well, you were
if a
concerned about-
tornado knocked ours out, we'd want them to break off of that.
Well, yeah, well, and that was, yeah, absolutely, yeah, this was prior to the setting up emergency communications, and gosh, all we can do for those
That's not
folks is
just
say a
Kentucky.
prayer and send them whatever resources we can send
Our
them.
hearts reach out to those people in Kentucky. That is just,
How many states did that cover? Wasn't just
Oh,
Kentucky.
isn't it the longest one, and with the longest time on the ground in history or something?
200 miles is what I heard this morning.
But it tore up Arkansas and everything else too.
It's supposed to be historical, I think. So, so we're still making progress. This is probably going to set us back a little. The sheriff and some of us still have to get together to determine the frequencies that go in the radios and the order those frequencies are going to be. We've tried over the years to have them all look alike. I don't think that's going to happen after this, because the sheriff's going to have something he wants in his zone. Fire department's probably going to have something they need in their zone. So they probably are not all going to look alike. And obviously, if they don't have dual band radios, they're not going to look like the sheriff's office's radios. There was some question as to whether or not we would have to pay a fee for DPS to use Denton's tower, and we're told not an issue.
okay, anything else on radios? Okay, then we'll take no action at this point. Item 17, deliberate and consider possible actions regarding various grant funds. Shelley?
I've submitted all the roads that have been turned in for FEMA. Precinct 4 has received payments of $31,000 and $19,000. Precinct 3 received an email today that Cone Resnick FEMA needs to come out and drive the roads in PW 963 as part of the last bit of the audit for that. I think they came out and drove some roads in Precinct 4 recently, is that correct?
Yes, they were
Yeah.
out last week.
Yeah. They're trying to wrap up, I think, July. They said July was the end of 2015 money. No action on FEMA 2020, no action on CTIF, no action on elections grant. American Rescue, I have a report due at the end of this month for items that have been encumbered and are paid up until this point.
On CTIF, Shelley,
Yes.
obviously what we turned in for estimates based on gas at $1.50, and now it's $3. You think we'll get any adjustments, we'll get any help? And those numbers are not exact, I understand that, but,
I,
okay, you know, probably is what it is.
yes.
How much time we got left to do C2?
5 years.
We got to find you another project to finish it if you don't have enough.
Oh, no, I'm saying what we turned in for estimates, we based on fuel prices that were half what they are today.
I know.
So, and I'm gonna do the project, so, but
I know.
the county's gonna have to, oh, you're saying do something to kill time between now and then until gas
Well,
prices go back down?
No, I mean, if you were destined to get $100,000, you're going to get $100,000.
But it'll buy half as much.
Well, then, you should have done it, a year ago.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you know,
Hey.
you can't predict all that. I mean, if your project,
I doubt the FEMA rates have changed with fluctuating fuel costs anyways.
yeah,
It's just a question, I mean,
Yeah.
it's gonna impact us all by the end of this fiscal year,
I'm sure of that.
just in our regular
Well,
budgets.
you know, I would say expect asphalt to go up, oil to go up, rock to go up.
Yeah.
If you can find rock.
Yeah, I couldn't get any rock today, anywhere in the county.
So that's what I have for grants.
Thank you. Item number 18, future agenda items. Is there anything that we need to add to the coming agenda for the 27th? All right, item number 19, adjourn.
Give me just a minute, please,
Sure.
Judge.
I'm just gonna be proud to make that motion, but he put the brakes on.
You want to discuss anything with Ed, but since that's over, it's over, so there's no sense.
Yeah, it's voted on, as far as I'm concerned, but. Okay, if you want to make the motion, make the motion.
You got something you want to say? Or you just want to leave?
Well, I didn't know if it was possible
Sure.
executive session to discuss something that's not an agenda item, nor does it require action, but if not, I visit with the judge one-on-one.
Okay, if you would, please.
I'll make a motion we adjourn.
Have a motion by Commissioner Smith to adjourn, second by Commissioner Hollowell. Any further discussion? All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it, 5-0. Thank you all very much, I appreciate it.
Chris?